I never imagined that the night I discovered the truth would be at a party in my own home. But that's exactly what happened. Standing in the marble bathroom of our $50 million mansion, I heard my husband's voice drifting through the heating vent, and the words he spoke shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. My wife? She's not here tonight. Just a business obligation I'm tied to. Nothing more. A woman laughed, the sound sharp and mocking. So the rumors about your mystery wife are true? You're ashamed of her. There was a pause, and in that moment, my heart stopped beating. Then Marcus spoke again, his voice casual, dismissive, as if he were discussing a business transaction that had gone wrong. Let's just say she serves a purpose. But she's not the kind of woman you bring to events like these. I gripped the edge of the sink, my knuckles turning white. The bathroom suddenly felt too small, the air too thick. I stared at my reflection in the mirror, at the designer gown I was wearing, at the carefully applied makeup, at the woman who had spent 3 hours getting ready for a party she wasn't allowed to attend. My name is Elena Hart, or it was. For the past 3 years, I've been Elena Blake, wife of tech billionaire Marcus Blake, one of the most successful entrepreneurs under 40 in the country. And for those 3 years, I had been living in a beautiful prison, convinced that my husband was protecting me from the harsh spotlight of his public life. I was wrong. Let me take you back to the beginning, to 4 years ago when I met Marcus at an architecture awards ceremony in Manhattan. I had just won the prestigious Thornton Prize for my innovative design of a sustainable housing complex in Brooklyn. I was 24 years old, at the top of my field, and my future was limitless. Marcus approached me after my acceptance speech. He was charming, confident, and relentless in his pursuit. He told me I was brilliant, that my vision was revolutionary, that he'd never met anyone like me. We talked for hours that night about design, about technology, about changing the world. He made me feel seen in a way I had never experienced before. Our romance was a whirlwind. Expensive dinners at restaurants I couldn't pronounce, weekend trips to Paris and Tokyo, private jets and 5-star hotels. Marcus showered me with attention and affection. He told me I was special, that I was different from every other woman he'd ever known. He said he wanted to build a life with me, to support my dreams, to be my partner in every way. 6 months after we met, he proposed. Not with a public display or a photographer-ready moment, but privately, in his penthouse apartment overlooking Central Park. He said he wanted our love to be sacred, protected from the invasive eyes of the media and the public. I thought it was romantic. I thought he was protecting what we had. We married in a small, private ceremony. Just us, an officiant, and 2 witnesses Marcus hired for the occasion. He said we would have a big celebration later, when the time was right, when his business dealings were less complicated. I agreed because I loved him, because I trusted him, because I believed that our private love was more valuable than any public declaration. Then came the suggestions. Small at first, easy to rationalize. Marcus thought I should quit my job at the architecture firm where I'd been making a name for myself. He said I was too talented to be working for someone else, that I should start my own practice. He offered to fund it, to support me while I built my portfolio. It seemed generous. It seemed like love. But the practice never materialized. Instead, Marcus began asking me to help with his projects. Could I design the lobby of his new office building? Could I create plans for the headquarters he was constructing in Silicon Valley? Could I sketch some ideas for the mansion he wanted to build for us? I said yes because I loved him, because I wanted to contribute, because he told me we were a team. The mansion took 2 years to design. It was my masterpiece, a stunning blend of modern architecture and sustainable technology, built into the hillside overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Every detail was intentional, every space carefully crafted. I poured my soul into that design. When it was finished, Marcus told everyone he'd hired a local architect. He never mentioned my name. I started to notice other things too. Marcus never invited me to company events. He said they were boring, full of pretentious people I wouldn't like. He kept me away from his friends, claiming they were superficial and I was too genuine for their circles. We had no photos together on social media. He said he was protecting my privacy, keeping me safe from the scrutiny that came with his public profile. I lived in a separate wing of the mansion. Marcus said it was so I could have my own space, my own sanctuary. I had an allowance of $2,000 a month. He said it was so I wouldn't have to worry about finances, so I could focus on my creative work. I wasn't on any of his accounts. He said it was for legal reasons, for business protections I didn't understand. Red flag after red flag, and I explained every single one away. I told myself that Marcus loved me, that he was protecting me, that our private life was more meaningful than any public display. I convinced myself that I was lucky to have a husband who valued our intimacy over appearances. But standing in that bathroom, hearing his words echo through the vent, I finally understood the truth. Marcus wasn't protecting me. He was hiding me. I wasn't his beloved wife. I was his shameful secret. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone and typed Marcus Blake's name into the search engine. The results loaded slowly, each one a fresh knife to my heart. There were hundreds of photos of Marcus at galas, at charity events, at business conferences. In many of them, he had his arm around beautiful women. Models, actresses, socialites. The captions referred to him as eligible, single, one of the most sought-after bachelors in tech. I searched for my own name next. Elena Blake. Nothing. Elena Hart Blake. Nothing. Marcus Blake wife. The results were devastating. Articles speculating about whether Marcus's mystery marriage was a green card arrangement. Blog posts wondering if he'd made up a fake wife to avoid unwanted attention from women. Forum discussions debating whether Elena Blake even existed. Then I found an interview from 2 months ago, featured in a major business magazine. The interviewer had asked Marcus about his personal life, about whether he planned to settle down. His answer made my stomach turn. I'm focused on building my company right now. Marriage? Maybe someday with the right woman. Someone who understands the demands of my world. Someone who can stand beside me in public. Someone who's an asset to my brand. I haven't found her yet, but I'm optimistic. I read those words 3 times, each reading more painful than the last. He hadn't found the right woman. He was still looking. His wife of 3 years, the woman who had given up her career for him, who had designed his empire's crown jewel, who had loved him with everything she had, apparently didn't even register as existing in his mind. My shock began to transform into something else. Something cold and clear and sharp. Anger. Pure, justified, righteous anger. I had spent 3 years of my life invisible, erased, hidden away like a shameful secret while Marcus paraded through the world as an eligible bachelor. 3 years of my career lost, my identity buried, my accomplishments stolen. Because that's what I realized next. Every building I had designed for Marcus, every space I had created, every project I had poured my expertise into, he had taken credit for. The Blake Mansion, valued at $50 million, was attributed to MB Designs in every architectural publication. MB for Marcus Blake. Not Elena Hart. Not even Elena Blake. My work, my genius, my labor, all credited to my husband while I received nothing. Not money, not recognition, not even acknowledgement. I looked at myself in the mirror again, but this time I saw someone different. Not a naive woman who had been fooled by pretty words and false promises. Not a victim who would quietly accept her erasure. I saw a woman who was about to take back everything that had been stolen from her. I fixed my lipstick, straightened my dress. A stunning red gown I had designed myself, though Marcus had told everyone it was from a Parisian boutique, and I made a decision. Marcus wanted me hidden. He was about to learn what happened when you tried to bury someone as brilliant as me. Because buried things have a way of rising to the surface, often at the most inconvenient moments. I left the bathroom and walked down the long hallway toward the grand staircase. From the top of the stairs, I could see the party below. 300 guests filled our mansion. The cream of society, tech moguls and venture capitalists, politicians and celebrities. They were drinking expensive champagne, eating catered food that cost more per bite than most people's weekly groceries, laughing and networking and enjoying themselves in the home I had created. None of them knew I existed. I began my descent down the staircase. The red dress, which I had chosen specifically because Marcus had once told me never to wear red to public events because it drew too much attention, flowed behind me like a cape. My heels clicked on the marble steps, each sound deliberate and purposeful. One person noticed me, then another, then 10, then 20. Conversations stopped mid-sentence as heads turned to watch my descent. I could feel their curiosity, their confusion. Who was this woman? Why was she coming from the private quarters? Why did she look so much like she belonged here? At the bottom of the stairs, I scanned the room for Marcus. I found him near the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean, my ocean view, my design. He had his arm around a beautiful blonde woman in a silver dress. She was young, probably not even 25, and she was wearing diamonds that probably cost more than my monthly allowance for an entire year. Marcus saw me at the exact moment I saw him. The color drained from his face so quickly I thought he might faint. His arm dropped from the woman's waist. His mouth opened but no sound came out. He looked like a man who had just seen a ghost, which in a way he had. The ghost of the wife he'd tried so hard to erase. I smiled at him. Not a warm smile, not a forgiving smile, but the smile of a woman who had just realized she held all the power. Before Marcus could recover, before he could rush over and try to usher me back upstairs, before he could begin spinning whatever lies he had prepared for this moment, a distinguished older man approached me. He was in his 60s, impeccably dressed, with silver hair and sharp, intelligent eyes that seemed to see right through me. "Excuse me," he said, his voice cultured and warm. "I hope I'm not being too forward, but I've been searching for you everywhere." I looked at him, confused. "I'm sorry. Do we know each other?" He smiled, and there was something genuine in it, something kind. "Not officially, but I know your work. You're Elena Hart, the architect who designed this magnificent home." The world seemed to stop spinning. Someone knew. Someone recognized my work. After 3 years of invisibility, someone saw me. "How did you know?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "My dear, I've been in real estate development for 40 years. I can recognize genius when I see it. This house has your signature all over it. The sustainable integration, the way natural light flows through every space, the seamless blend of technology and nature. I've been trying to hire the architect who designed this masterpiece for months, but Marcus refused to give me your name. Now I understand why. He's been stealing your credit." He extended his hand. "I'm Victor Chen, CEO of Chen Enterprises, and I would very much like to discuss a business opportunity with you, if you're interested." Victor Chen. I knew the name. He was one of the most powerful real estate developers in the country, known for his ethical business practices and his commitment to sustainable architecture. He was also one of Marcus's biggest rivals. I shook his hand, feeling strength return to my body with that simple gesture. "I'm very interested, Mr. Chen. Please call me Victor. And if you don't mind, may I introduce you properly to this room? I think it's time people knew who you really are." I glanced at Marcus. He was pushing through the crowd toward us, panic written across his face. Perfect timing. "I would love that," I said to Victor. What happened next was the most satisfying moment of my life. Victor Chen, with his commanding presence and respected reputation, raised his voice to address the party. "Excuse me, everyone. May I have your attention, please?" The crowd quieted, all eyes turning toward us. Marcus froze mid-step, trapped in the middle of the room with nowhere to go. "I'd like to introduce you all to someone very special," Victor continued, his arm extended toward me in a gesture of presentation. "This is Elena Hart, the architectural genius behind the Blake estate we're all enjoying tonight. She's also responsible for the Turner Tower redesign and the Morrison Museum renovation. Her work is extraordinary, and I'm thrilled to finally meet the woman whose designs I've been admiring for years." The crowd murmured with interest and confusion. I could see people pulling out their phones, searching for my name, trying to understand who I was and why they'd never heard of me before. Marcus finally reached us, his face a mask of forced calm. "Elena, darling, what are you doing down here?" The endearment sounded foreign coming from his mouth. In 3 years of marriage, he had never called me darling in front of another person. Usually, when we were alone, he called me by my name if he called me anything at all. I looked at him, my expression cool and controlled. Darling? That's new, Marcus. You've never called me that before. His eyes pleaded with me to go along with whatever story he was constructing. But I was done protecting his lies. The blonde woman in the silver dress approached, her face painted with confusion. Marcus, who is this woman? You said you were. This is complicated, Marcus interrupted, his voice tight with desperation. I turned to the woman, offering her a kind smile. She wasn't the enemy here. She was just another one of Marcus's victims. Another woman fed a carefully constructed lie. I'm his wife, I said simply. We've been married for 3 years. And you are. The woman's face went white. The champagne glass in her hand trembled. His wife? But he told me. He said he was divorced 2 years ago. He said his ex-wife was controlling and that he was finally free. The crowd gasped. Phones were being raised now, recording this moment, capturing the unfolding drama. I could see journalists in the crowd, their eyes lighting up with the recognition that they were witnessing something newsworthy. Marcus looked between me and the woman, sweat beading on his forehead. Vivian, let me explain. Explain what? I pulled out my phone with calm deliberation. Should I show her our marriage certificate? I have a copy right here. Or perhaps I should show her the wedding photos that you keep hidden in a locked drawer in your office. The office in the East Wing. The one you told me was off-limits because it contained sensitive business documents. Camila, this is a private matter, Marcus hissed, reaching for my arm. I stepped back, avoiding his touch. Private? You made our entire marriage private, Marcus. You made me private. You erased me from your life so completely that most people here tonight had no idea you were even married. I think it's time for some transparency. Don't you? A reporter pushed through the crowd, recorder in hand. Mrs. Blake, can you comment on your relationship with your husband? The public wasn't aware that Marcus Blake was married. The public wasn't aware because my husband deliberately hid our marriage, I said clearly, my voice carrying across the silent room. For 3 years, he's kept me sequestered in this house while presenting himself to the world as a single man. Another voice from the crowd, a man in an expensive suit I recognized as one of Marcus's business rivals. Ms. Hart, I've been trying to reach the architect listed as MB Designs for years. That was you. Yes, I confirmed. MB for Marcus Blake. My husband registered all of my architectural work under his initials. I designed every building attributed to MB Designs, including this house, which has been valued at $50 million. Victor Chen pulled out his phone, scrolling through his emails. I have correspondence here where Marcus quoted me $2 million for the design services of MB Designs. Where did that money go, Ms. Hart? I looked directly at Marcus as I answered. I never saw a penny of it. For 3 years, I've been living on a $2,000 monthly allowance while my husband charged clients millions for my work. I have no access to our bank accounts, no ownership of my own designs, no financial independence whatsoever. The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs. I could see board members of Marcus's company whispering urgently to each other, lawyers making phone calls, investors looking concerned. A woman's voice rang out from near the back of the room. He told me he was single too. Another woman stepped forward. He said his wife died 2 years ago in a car accident. He showed me fake sympathy cards. A third woman emerged from the crowd. He proposed to me last month. I have the ring in my purse. Marcus's face went from white to green. He was looking around wildly, seeing his carefully constructed lies collapsing around him like a house of cards in a strong wind. This is insane, he stammered. Elena, you're being hysterical. Everyone, please, this is just a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I kept my voice level reasonable. Let's be very precise about what's happening here, Marcus. Let's talk about the prenuptial agreement you claim I signed, the one that gives you all rights to my work and leaves me with nothing in the event of a divorce. Shall I tell everyone about that document? His eyes widened in panic. Elena, don't. I never signed a prenuptial agreement, Marcus. You had your lawyer forge my signature. I have the original document, and I've had a handwriting expert analyze it. The signature isn't mine. That's fraud. That's a federal crime. The crowd was in an uproar now. I could see Marcus's lawyer in the back of the room, his face pale, probably calculating his own legal liability in the forgery scheme. A new voice entered the fray, clear and confident. "Hello, Marcus. Remember me?" I turned to see my sister, Sophia Hart, emerging from the crowd. She looked stunning and professional in a navy suit, her journalist's notebook in hand. Marcus had banned her from our wedding, claiming she was too abrasive, too intrusive. I hadn't seen her in person in over 2 years, though we'd maintained secret phone contact. "The sister you banned from your wedding?" Sophia continued, walking to stand beside me. "The investigative journalist you told Elena was a bad influence? I've been investigating you for 6 months, Marcus, and I have to say, you're even worse than I thought." She held up a USB drive. "I have everything. Financial records showing exactly how you've been embezzling money from your joint accounts with Elena. Emails to multiple women, each one told a different lie about your marital status. Correspondence with your lawyer about the forged prenup. Communications with business partners about taking credit for Elena's work. And my personal favorite, texts to your accountant about hiding Elena's trust fund from her." This was news to me. "What trust fund?" Sophia looked at me with sympathy. "Elena, our grandfather, the tech pioneer Grandpa James, left you a $50 million trust fund when he died 7 years ago. The executor was supposed to notify you when you turned 25. Marcus intercepted the notification and convinced the executor that he should manage the funds as your husband. He's been spending your inheritance for 3 years. The room spun. $50 million. My grandfather's legacy, meant to ensure my independence and support my dreams, stolen by the man I had trusted with my life." Marcus made a sound like a wounded animal. "That money was going to be ours anyway. We're married. What's yours is mine." "Except I'm not yours," I said quietly. "I'm not your property, Marcus. I'm not your secret. I'm not your cash cow. I'm a human being, and you've treated me like an inconvenient business asset for 3 years." Victor Chen stepped forward again, his voice carrying authority. "Ms. Hart, I'd like to make you an offer right here, right now, in front of all these witnesses. I'm prepared to offer you a position as Chief Design Officer at Chen Enterprises. Your salary would be $5 million annually, plus royalties on all your previous work that Marcus stole. You would have full creative control, full credit for your designs, and complete financial independence." Marcus actually laughed, a desperate, manic sound. "You can't poach my wife, Chen." Victor looked at him with something close to pity. "Your wife? Marcus, 5 minutes ago you were pretending she didn't exist. You were calling her a business obligation. You were telling another woman that Elena wasn't the kind of person you bring to events. You don't get to claim her now that she's revealed herself to be valuable." I looked Victor Chen in the eye and made the easiest decision of my life. "I accept your offer, Victor." "Thank you." The crowd applauded. Actually applauded. I stood there, in the house I had designed, surrounded by people who were finally seeing me, finally acknowledging my existence, and I felt powerful in a way I had never experienced before. But the night wasn't over yet. A woman in a sharp suit pushed through the crowd, introducing herself as Rebecca Torres, a prominent divorce attorney. "Mrs. Blake," she said, "I've been watching this unfold, and I represent 3 of the women here tonight who were deceived by your husband. We're filing a class action lawsuit against him for fraud, emotional damages, and financial manipulation. We'd like you to join as the lead plaintiff. With the evidence of financial fraud, forgery, and identity theft, we're looking at serious criminal charges." I didn't hesitate. "I'm in." Marcus was shaking his head, backing away from the growing circle of people surrounding him. "This is insane. You're all overreacting. Elena, please, we can work this out. Vivian, you know what we had was real. Everyone, this is just a big misunderstanding." 2 security officers appeared, approaching Marcus with official-looking documents. "Mr. Blake, we need you to come with us. We have questions about financial irregularities and possible fraud charges." "You can't be serious," Marcus said. his voice rising to a shout. "This is my house. These are my guests. I'm calling my lawyer. Your lawyer is currently being questioned about his role in forging legal documents." One of the officers said calmly, "Sir, please come with us voluntarily, or we'll have to place you under arrest." The room was completely silent now. 300 of the most powerful people in the state were watching Marcus Blake, tech billionaire and supposed self-made success story, being led away by security for questioning about criminal fraud. As he passed me, he made one last desperate attempt. "Elena, please. I love you. We can fix this. Don't destroy us." I looked at him, really looked at him, and I felt nothing. No love, no pity, not even anger anymore. Just a cold, clear certainty. "There is no us to destroy, Marcus. You destroyed it 3 years ago when you decided I was something to hide rather than someone to honor. You destroyed it every time you took credit for my work. You destroyed it when you stole my inheritance. You destroyed it every time you lied to another woman about your marital status. I'm just making sure the whole world knows what you did." Then I turned to Victor Chen and smiled. "Now, shall we discuss my new position at Chen Enterprises? I have so many ideas for sustainable urban development." As Marcus was led away and the party erupted into chaos around us, I felt something I hadn't experienced in 3 years. Freedom. Pure, absolute, intoxicating freedom. The media storm that followed was unprecedented. By the next morning, video of the confrontation had been viewed 5 million times online. The hashtag Hidden Wife Scandal was trending worldwide. News outlets across the globe were covering the story of the billionaire who hid his brilliant wife while stealing her work and her money. Marcus's company, Blake Tech, saw its stock crash 40% in a single day. Investors were pulling out, demanding investigations into the company's financial practices. If Marcus had been fraudulent in his personal life, what else had he lied about in his business dealings? The avalanche of revelations continued. Former employees came forward with stories of Marcus taking credit for their innovations. Business partners revealed shady deals and broken contracts. Ex-girlfriends shared their experiences of manipulation and lies. Every news story painted a picture of a man who had built his empire on the labor and genius of others while presenting himself as a self-made visionary. My own story took a different trajectory. Design magazines rushed to publish features on my previously anonymous work. Architectural Digest ran a cover story titled, "The Hidden Genius Behind the Blake Empire." Harvard's Graduate School of Design offered me a guest lecturer position. Netflix wanted documentary rights to my story. But none of that compared to what happened next. Within a week, 3 more women joined the class action lawsuit against Marcus. Within 2 weeks, forensic accountants had uncovered the full extent of his financial crimes. He hadn't just stolen from me. He had embezzled from his company, defrauded investors, and committed tax evasion on a massive scale. The criminal charges were staggering: forgery, wire fraud, identity theft, embezzlement, tax evasion. Marcus was looking at 30 years in federal prison. The divorce proceedings were surprisingly straightforward. With overwhelming evidence of fraud, infidelity, and financial crimes, Marcus's lawyers advised him to accept my terms rather than fight and risk an even worse outcome in court. My settlement included full ownership of the mansion I had designed, valued at $50 million. I received $10 million in compensation for stolen design fees. I was awarded 50% of Marcus's remaining liquid assets, another $25 million. I got complete ownership and rights to all my architectural designs, which were valued at billions in terms of future royalty potential. And Marcus was ordered to pay me $100,000 per month in alimony for 10 years. But the most satisfying part wasn't the money. It was the day the forensic accountant showed me the evidence of my trust fund. My grandfather, who had been a pioneer in computer engineering, had left me $50 million when he passed away. Marcus had intercepted the notification, forged my signature on documents giving him power of attorney over the trust, and had been systematically draining it for 3 years. That was what pushed the charges from civil fraud to criminal embezzlement. That was what guaranteed Marcus would see the inside of a prison cell. 6 months after that night at the party, I sat in a courtroom and watched as the judge sentenced Marcus Blake to 32 years in federal prison. His empire was gone, his reputation destroyed, his freedom taken away. He would be 70 years old before he was eligible for parole. As the bailiffs led him away in handcuffs, he looked at me one last time. I saw regret in his eyes, and maybe the beginning of understanding about what he had lost. But it was too late for regrets, too late for apologies, too late for anything except consequences. I walked out of that courtroom with my sister Sophia beside me, with my lawyer Rebecca Torres discussing future plans, with my new colleague Victor Chen waiting to take me to lunch. I walked out as Elena Hart, architect, entrepreneur, survivor. Not as anyone's secret, anyone's shame, anyone's property. The transformation in my life was complete. I had reclaimed my name, my work, my identity, and my future. The mansion that had been my prison became the headquarters for a foundation I started called Hidden No More, dedicated to helping women escape financially controlling relationships. My career exploded in ways I had never imagined. Within a year of leaving Marcus, I had designed 3 major buildings in different cities, all credited properly to Elena Hart. I won international architecture awards. I gave a TED Talk about hidden labor in marriages that was viewed 20 million times. I appeared on magazine covers not as someone's wife, but as myself on my own merits. But perhaps the most surprising development was my relationship with Victor Chen. He had been patient, respectful, and professional throughout my divorce and recovery. We worked together closely at Chen Enterprises, and over time, I realized that Victor was everything Marcus had pretended to be. He was kind, honest, and genuinely supportive of my success. He celebrated my victories rather than feeling threatened by them. He introduced me to everyone as the brilliant architect Elena Hart, never as his employee or his anything, just as myself. 18 months after the party that changed everything, Victor invited me to dinner at his estate. Over wine and a meal prepared by his personal chef, he told me something I hadn't known. "There's something I need to tell you," he said, his voice gentle, "about how I knew your work." I looked at him curiously. "You said you recognized my signature style." "I did. But there's more to the story." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "My wife, Catherine, died 5 years ago. She was an architect like you. Actually, she was your professor at Harvard, though you might not remember her. Catherine Chen." My breath caught. Professor Chen. I remembered her vividly. She had been my mentor, my champion, the woman who had encouraged me to pursue my most ambitious designs. She had passed away suddenly from an aneurysm during my final year of graduate school. "I remember her," I whispered. "She was incredible." "She was," Victor agreed, his eyes distant with memory. "Before she died, she talked about you constantly. She said you were the most talented student she'd ever taught. She made me promise something. She made me promise to find Elena Hart and make sure your genius was recognized. Make sure you had the support and resources to change the world with your designs." Tears filled my eyes. "She said that." "She did. And I've been searching for you for years. When I saw the Blake Mansion, I knew immediately it was your work. Catherine had shown me your graduate thesis designs. The sustainable integration, the way you work with natural light, the seamless blend of technology and organic forms. That was pure Elena Hart. I tried for months to hire you, but Marcus refused to give me your name or contact information. Now I understand why. He was keeping you hidden, keeping your genius locked away where no one could see it, where no one could offer you opportunities that might give you independence. I was crying now, silent tears streaming down my face. "You've been looking for me all this time? I promised Catherine I would find you. I just wish I had found you sooner. I wish I could have saved you from those 3 years of invisibility." "You saved me when it mattered most," I said. "You gave me my voice back. You helped me reclaim my identity. Victor, you kept your promise to your wife. You found me, and you made sure my genius was recognized." He reached across the table and took my hand. "Elena, I've wanted to tell you this for months, but I didn't want you to think I had ulterior motives for hiring you. I didn't want you to feel pressured or uncomfortable. But I need you to know that my interest in you isn't just professional. Somewhere along the way, working beside you, watching you rebuild your life, seeing your strength and brilliance, I fell in love with you. My heart stuttered. After everything I had been through, the idea of trusting someone romantically felt terrifying. But Victor had proven himself in ways Marcus never had. He had been patient when I needed space. He had celebrated my success rather than feeling threatened. He had been honest and transparent about everything. I'm scared, I admitted. What if I'm wrong about you too? Then I'll prove myself to you every single day until you're certain, he said simply. Elena, I'm not asking you to rush into anything. I'm not asking you to change who you are or dim your light. I'm just asking if you'll consider letting me be part of your life, as more than just a colleague. When you're ready. No timeline. No pressure. I looked into his eyes and saw something I hadn't seen in Marcus's gaze in years, if I'd ever seen it at all. I saw respect. I saw admiration. I saw genuine love that wanted nothing from me except my happiness. I'd like that, I said softly. I'd like to see where this goes. Slowly, carefully. But yes, our first real date was at a charity gala, full circle from the party where my old life had ended. But this time, everything was different. Victor introduced me to everyone as Elena Hart, the renowned architect who was revolutionizing sustainable urban design. I wore red again, not because I was making a statement, but because I liked the color and no one had the right to tell me what I could wear. We were photographed together, interviewed together. When reporters asked about our relationship, Victor was clear and proud. I'm dating the most brilliant architect of our generation. I'm the lucky one here. The contrast with Marcus couldn't have been more stark. Where Marcus had hidden me, Victor showcased me. Where Marcus had stolen my credit, Victor insisted I receive recognition for every project. Where Marcus had controlled my finances, Victor encouraged my independence. Where Marcus had isolated me, Victor supported my relationships with friends and family. It wasn't perfect. I still had moments of fear, flashes of anxiety that maybe I was being fooled again. But Victor was patient with my healing process. When I had doubts, he didn't get defensive. He listened, he reassured, he gave me space when I needed it and support when I asked for it. 1 year after our first date, Victor took me to a beautiful piece of property overlooking the ocean. It was undeveloped land, raw and full of potential. I'm not asking you to marry me, he said, which made me laugh because it was such an odd way to start what seemed like a romantic moment. Not yet. Not until you're absolutely ready. But I am asking you something else. What's that? I'm asking if you'll design our future together. Literally and figuratively. This land is yours if you want it. Design us a home, Elena. Design the space where we'll build our life together. When you're ready. No timeline. No pressure. Just the opportunity to create something beautiful, together. I looked at the empty land, at the sunset painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, at the man who had helped me find myself again, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Pure, uncomplicated hope for a future built on honesty and equality and genuine love. Yes, I said. I'll design our life together. I'm ready. 2 years after the party that changed everything, I stood on a stage accepting the Pritzker Architecture Prize, the highest honor in my field. The youngest recipient in the award's history. 11:55 a.m. In my acceptance speech, I talked about visibility, about the importance of recognizing hidden labor, about the women and men whose brilliance is stolen by those who take credit for others' work. I talked about the necessity of independence, of maintaining your identity even within a relationship. I talked about the power of truth and the freedom that comes from refusing to be erased. Marcus watched my speech from his prison cell. I knew because his mother wrote me a letter saying he had requested to watch the broadcast, that he had cried as I spoke. She asked if I would consider forgiving him, if I could find it in my heart to show mercy. I wrote back with a simple truth. I had already forgiven him, not because he deserved my forgiveness, but because I deserved peace. But forgiveness didn't mean reconciliation. It didn't mean forgetting. It meant releasing the hold that his betrayal had on my life, choosing to move forward without the weight of bitterness. Marcus Blake took 3 years of my life, He tried to erase my identity, steal my work, and keep me hidden in the shadows. He failed. Instead of destroying me, his betrayal freed me to become the woman I was always meant to be. Today, my net worth is over $80 million, all earned through my own talent and hard work. I run a successful architecture firm with projects across 6 continents. My foundation has helped nearly 2,000 women escape financially controlling relationships. I'm in a loving partnership with someone who celebrates my success rather than competing with it. The Blake Mansion, the house I designed in captivity, now serves as the headquarters for Hidden No More Foundation. Every room that once symbolized my imprisonment now helps other women find freedom. The irony is poetic. As I stand here, looking out over the city from my penthouse office, the one I designed for myself in a building I own, I think about that night 2 years ago. The night I heard my husband call me a business obligation through a heating vent. The night I decided I would not stay hidden anymore. Marcus tried to bury me in shadows. But he forgot something important about shadows. They can only exist where there's light. And I was always the light in that relationship. I was the brilliance, the creativity, the genius that made everything shine. He tried to hide me, but light can't be contained. It always finds a way to break through, to illuminate, to reveal the truth. My name is Elena Hart. I'm an award-winning architect, a successful entrepreneur, a survivor of financial abuse, and an advocate for hidden voices everywhere. And I'm done hiding.